So before you tonight, we have a request from Terry and Mary Shireman for annexation of property, as well as a comprehensive plan, land use designation, and a rezoning of some property located adjacent to the city limits boundary. So before you tonight, we really have three requests. The first one being the annexation of the 3.34 acres, and that's located at 3151 and 3225 Robinson Park Road. We also have the adoption, so outside of the city limits boundary, we have within the area city impact comprehensive plan land use designations for all that area out there, and so upon annexation we'll need to adopt that, and so that's why we have the adoption of the current comprehensive plan land use designation, and which is currently auto urban residential and suburban commercial for the smaller piece. And we also have a rezone request. The property is currently zoned agricultural forestry, and the request is to a combination of our low-density single-family residential, which is the R1 zoning district, and the neighborhood business zone. So just to orient yourself to the property, orange line represents the current city limits boundary. Subject properties outlined in red in the center of your screen. Actually have two parcels here, one of 2.34 acres in size and then a smaller one of 1 acre in size. The 2.34 acre property to the west currently has a single family dwelling and a couple of outbuildings on it. Single family dwelling located here and the outbuildings here and there. And then the 1 acre piece there to the northeast currently contains the Shireman Clubhouse and Event Center space in the northeast portion. So looking at the vicinity, we have some platted property there to the south. That's Southgate 3rd Edition subdivision. And we also have other existing residential development to the west, to the northwest. Within the county, you have primarily agricultural land as well as just large lot single-family development. We've got a topography map showing the property. Relatively flat, slopes down a little bit from the street, but relatively flat. The portions there to the north increase topography as you head to the north there. Looking at the current comprehensive plan land use designation, we have auto urban residential as well as suburban commercial. Suburban commercial is in the pink, and that auto urban residential is in the yellow shade. All of the property within the city is currently designated as neighborhood conservation. So what that auto urban residential designation equates to, according to the comprehensive plan, are those areas generally anticipated to be developed with low to moderate density residential. We usually see densities of about 3 to 7 units per acre, and then appropriate zoning districts would be R1, R2, and R3 for those properties. Looking at the suburban commercial designation, it's intended to provide local and neighborhood commercial services provided in a manner that's compatible with the residential neighborhood environment. Appropriate lands for that designation include those areas in close proximity to higher density residential development, intersections of designated collector arterial streets. Robinson Park Road is currently designated as a minor arterial near residential development. And the most appropriate zoning designation is our neighborhood business zone. So looking at a zoning map of the area, currently within the agricultural forestry zone as well as all the area to the east within the county. Within the city limits, you have a combination of R1 to the south. You also have some R2, some R3, a slight sliver of ag forest. There it contains a single property adjacent to Robinson Park Road. You have R2 to the northwest. So the proposal, on behalf of the applicants, is to rezone, annex and rezone the larger piece, the 2.34 acres, to the R1 designation, and then the current Shireman Event Center that's located on the 1 acre piece to the neighborhood business zone. The R1 zone says in the zoning code is a low density residential zone, and then it's appropriate in the following circumstances where single family dwellings predominate. The area, physical character of the area does not lend it to a more intense development, and so that could be by virtue of irregular topography, restricted access, or could be division of land into subdivision lots greater than the minimum lot size for the zone. and then application of the plan policies, the plan being the comprehensive plan to the land in question. Looking at our neighborhood business zone, it's going to be the lowest intensity commercial zone in our code. It's intended to be applied in areas less than 2 acres in size. So it needs to be provided in a convenient location for adjacent residential neighborhoods other than the community as a whole. And then the commercial services underneath that zone that are permitted. We're going to be a wide variety of residential, retail, sales, personal services, restaurants, professional offices, daycare facilities, churches, and a community neighborhood event center, which is currently encompassing the property. I just wanted to highlight the utilities that extend to the area. So you have both sewers, sanitary and storm, extended out to the current city limits boundary, and you also have a water line, a water main that's extended out to the current city limits boundary as well. So the property does have access to city services. Planning and Zoning Commission conducted a public hearing, and that occurred January 13th, 2016, and they recommended approval of the comp plan designation and the rezone without any conditions. And so staff's recommendation for the council tonight is to conduct a public hearing upon the annexation, land use, and zoning designations, and upon consideration of any testimony presented. First one is going to be approve the annexation ordinance under suspension of the rules, requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and that it be read by title and published by summary. The second, to approve the comp plan resolution and adopt Planning and Zoning Commission's reason statement. And then the third being to approve the proposed zoning ordinance under suspension of the rules, requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and that it be read by title and published by summary. And then to adopt the Planning and Zoning Commission's reason statement of relevant criteria. I'd certainly be able to answer any questions that you might have about the proposal.
As Mike had said, what we've got here is we've got one public hearing, but we've got basically 3 major decisions which will be voted on each one separately. So, Dan, I will start with you.
Mike, could you put the map back up that showed the, I think it showed the zoning right there. Okay, so my pointer's battery is dead. So the R1 just to the south, is that the Milton Arthur Park?
It would be, yeah. That's the current park there.
And then I wanted to confirm that this means the city is going to also be annexing that section of road.
Correct.
Okay, I have people that would be pleased with that, so.
John?
Yeah. The ag forest directly to the east, that's the University Farm. Is that not correct?
To the southeast. I believe to the east it's Lloyd Scramsted's estate.
I think that little section is.
The lower part is the University Farms,
Correct.
and then the upper part is,
I believe that's Lloyd Scramsted's estate that he leases for farming.
all right.
Catherine?
Mine's just a question on verbiage, because in the code it says, it doesn't say event center, but is that beginning to, for the uses, is that now becoming synonymous with restaurant? And like you said, go back to the slide. See in the fifth bullet? No, sorry, the 4th bullet. I just want to make sure, and then we're saying like community neighborhood centers, so we're implying that event center means the same thing now?
It does. Yeah, they received a conditional use permit for a neighborhood,
Oh, okay.
community neighborhood center, and so, yeah, they're synonymous with each
Yeah,
other.
I just didn't know then if eventually we have to change that definition too.
No.
Okay.
Isn't event center just like, that's their title of the
Correct.
Yeah.
operation, not necessarily a definition, I guess.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mike, does the proposed annexed property follow existing property ownership lines?
I don't think it does, except for the road.
Does the existing boundary for the city limits?
The proposed annexation area, does that follow existing property ownership lines?
On the east, it does. It'll go across the Robinson Park Road, and then it follows the northern right-of-way line of Robinson Park Road. So, yeah, it does.
Okay, but it doesn't have to, does it? I mean, we can annex part of somebody's 40 acres and not take in the whole thing.
Sure,
Okay, but in this case, it does follow
it does.
property
Yep.
lines, okay?
Yep.
And if I may,
Go ahead.
they're proposing to get on city water, but to stay on septic systems on the property.
Correct.
Do we have any problem with that?
We don't. I mean, they're greater than 300 feet away from the current sewer line, so they're not required to connect to those services, even when they are in the city. But yeah, they're planning on running private water lines from the city main to both properties.
If I may?
Go ahead, continue.
I thought I heard you say that the city water, and somebody's been going through all of our
Pointer, don't we?
corner things. The city water, sewer, and storm sewer all end at the Heiden's driveway up in Robinson Park Road.
Yeah, it'd be in
Right
this
there.
this location right here.
So it's not 300 feet to the property. It may be 300 feet to use.
Yeah, it's greater than 300 feet to the house.
Okay,
Yep,
so for that reason, that's okay.
yep.
And then, I think that answers my questions. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions for Mike? John?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Well, we haven't.
Oh, I'm
we got-
sorry, you're on.
Hearing first. John, we got to open it up for public hearing,
Yeah,
and then we'll go from there. Okay, thank you, Mike. I am going to open this public hearing. It is 7:27, and I will take testimony in favor
Got anybody to say?
of this proposal. Do we have anybody here that'd like to come up and speak? Come on up, state your name, address, sir. If you are, in fact, the folks that own this.
Yeah.
Okay,
Terry Shireman, 3151 Robinson Park Road.
Okay.
And I'm in favor of it.
okay, okay.
Any questions or?
Well, I don't think we have any questions. We just always ask for folks that are, in favor of this, and this is your property. Now what we're going to do is move on and see if there's anybody opposed to it or anybody's got general comments. So, thank you very much. Now I will take testimony for anybody that would like to come in front of us and speak on this, either in favor or general comments or opposition. With seeing none, boom, I'll close the public hearing at 7:28. John, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, I would move that we approve the annexation ordinance under suspension of the rules requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and that it be read by title and published by summary.
Second that motion.
Okay, we got a motion by John and a second by Jim to approve the annex ordination and the suspension of the rules requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and it be read, entitled, and published by summary. I'll start the roll with you, Walter.
Aye.
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 Okay, we'll move on. That's number 1. I would need to read an ordinance on that. 2016-02, is that correct? Okay. Ordinance 2016-02, an ordinance of the City of Moscow Municipal Corporation of the State of Idaho, providing that the land described in Section 1 of this ordinance and generally shown on Exhibit A, attached thereto and incorporated by this reference by annexed to the City of Moscow, providing that the provisions of this ordinance be deemed severable, providing that this ordinance be in full force and effect from the day that and after passage, approval, and publication according to law. Okay, that's number 1.
Your Honor,
Dan?
I make a motion that we approve the proposed comprehensive plan land use designation resolution and adopt the Planning and Zoning Commission reason statement of relevant criteria.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion by Dan and a second by John to approve the proposed comprehensive plan land use designation resolution and adopt the Planning and Zoning Commission's reason statement of relevant criteria. I'll start the roll, John.
Aye.
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 Okay, now we will move on to item number 3.
I move that we approve the proposed zoning ordinance under suspension of the rules requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and that it be read by title and published by summary, and adopt the Planning and Zoning Commission reasoned statement of relevant criteria.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion by Catherine and a second by Walter to approve the proposed zoning ordinance under the suspension of rules requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and it be read by title and published by summary, and adopt the Planning and Zoning Commission reasoned statement relevant criteria. We said, I'll start with Walter.
Aye.
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 Okay, we will move on. We got another ordinance somewhere here to read. And this one will be 03, 2016-03. An ordinance of the City of Moscow, Idaho, and Municipal Corporation of Idaho, providing for the zoning of approximately 3.34 acres of property described in Section 1 of this ordinance, low-density, single-family residence, R1, and neighborhood business, NB, providing that the provisions of this ordinance be deemed severable, providing for this ordinance to be in full force and effect from and after its passage, approval, and publication according to law.